Good morning. Today's topic is plate boundaries. Your objective, I can describe the activity and features of three different plate boundaries in the ocean and on land. Earth is broken up into pieces called tectonic plates. It is the crust, the uppermost layer of the Earth, the thinnest, the least dense, that is broken into these plates. There are two types of crustal plates. First, we have continental plates. Continent means land. These are land plates. We also have plates called oceanic plates. These plates are covered by the ocean. Continental plates are less dense. Oceanic plates are more dense. A plate boundary is where the plates meet or touch each other. This is where they interact. We have three types. The first is a divergent boundary. This means that the plates pull away from each other. This is the type of boundary that we discussed when we talked about seafloor spreading. We also have convergent boundaries. This means the plates move towards each other. And finally, we have transform boundaries. Here, the plates slide past each other. When plates meet and interact, faults are created. Faults are breaks in the Earth's crust. The movement of the plates that causes these faults is due to convection currents deep within the mantle. You've been given a chart that looks like this. From this point on, you are not writing in your notebook, but instead writing and recording notes on this chart. We've just reviewed the three types of boundaries. You now need to fill in, as we go into more depth, how the plates are moving, towards, away, past each other. Is there new crust that is formed? You're going to draw arrows, and you're going to tell me what landform or what interaction occurs at each boundary. The first is divergent. Almost all of the Earth's new crust forms at these boundaries. Just like we discussed during seafloor spreading, when plates move apart, magma from deep in the mantle rises up to fill in the gap. Once it pushes up to the surface of the crust, it cools and solidifies. At divergent plate boundaries, mid-ocean ridges form. Convergent boundaries have three different interactions depending on what types of plates are meeting. If an oceanic and a continental plate meet, what happens is subduction, where one plate goes under another. The oceanic plate is more dense and therefore will be pushed below the less dense continental plate. Once the oceanic plate gets pushed underneath, it melts, and that magma that is created often is pushed back up, causing volcanoes to be formed. When two oceanic plates pull together, push together, something called an ocean trench can be formed. When two land plates or two continental plates meet, mountains are formed. Here's an example of an illustration of a convergent boundary between an oceanic plate and a continental plate. The oceanic plate is more dense, so it gets pushed underneath the continental plate. You can see that that crust melts, causing magma to be rising up to the surface of the continental crust, which is released in a volcano. Our last is transform boundaries. No new crust is created. at this interaction. This is where earthquakes are the most common, as very large faults are created as two plates slide past each other. Let's test your knowledge. What type of fault or plate boundary is below the arrow that just appeared? This is a convergent boundary because the two plates are pushing into each other. What type of boundary is this arrow pointing to? This is a transform boundary. The plates are sliding past each other. And finally, the arrow that appeared at the bottom of the screen. What type of plate boundary is this? This is a divergent boundary because the plates are pulling away from each other.